Our next speaker is Bernard Lahous, and his presentation is How Data Will Change the Future of Food, Food Pairing, and Consumer Flavor. Bernard is a bioengineer. This is a big difference from a cook to a bioengineer, right? And he focuses on the interaction between science and food. And he heads a company called foodpairing.com with a unique approach to food tech that utilizes chemistry, physics, and data science as a launching pad for the food of tomorrow. So one of the world's largest ingredient and flavor databases is stored in food pairing. So basic ingredients are all stored, and food pairing has an algorithm which is able to combine and is being used by chefs and cocktail makers all over the world. So he's even working on more advanced algorithms, and he will be explaining this technology and this approach to you. Thank you.
It's really great to be here. I also have a very special relationship with this city. About 9 years ago, the first presentation of food pairing was actually here in San Sebastian at Lo Mejor de la Gastronomía. So without San Sebastian, I maybe was not here. Also without the work that Heston has done, I also would not be here, because he also inspired me in stepping into this fantastic world of science and food. Now, since that 9 years, a lot has changed. If you look now to key industries like music, movie, banking, taxi, they all converted to digital platforms. And it's logical and evident that food will also go into that direction. Food has been rather slow to digitize, but we see it's really catching up. Like if you look in Europe, 80% of the consumers already consume digital food weekly, which means that they look at recipes. They use websites like Chris ChefStep to be inspired. Like in France and the Netherlands, people already 10% of the consumers order food via the internet, and food delivery services like Deliveroo, they grow very fast, like 400% the last year. So we see bit by bit the food space changing. We hope to be a part of that, and we think that a few steps are quite important to do that. One step is it's to digitize food. So to really know what are the aroma, taste components into food. How's my presentation doing? No? So first step is to digitize food. Have insights in the aroma molecules, into the taste molecules. But of course, food, it is cultural, food is personal, so we also need to have an insight in what people like. I don't believe in surveys, because then you're not answering the right questions. I believe in following the consumer behavior of people online. And you all have a smartphone, you all look to recipes. If you can harvest that data, it's a very good way to get better insights in what your preferences are. So Food Pairing, it's a company based in Belgium and New York. We're about 18 people, so we're a mix of chefs, data scientists, and food scientists. For us, it's very important also to spread our knowledge, and we have an educational program also with this center, Basque Culinary Center, but we have it in about 28 countries, because we believe that if you want to become a chef, it's very important to understand the aroma, the chemistry of food. Yeah. So I will talk to you about food pairing, about how we digitize the food pairing universe or the food universe, and then how we power external applications. I'm not sure if there are developers here, but we have an API, which is like a communication layer, where we give all our intelligence to be put into your applications. In US, there's happening a lot on food tech. In Europe, there's not enough happening on food tech. So if you're a young guy and you want to do something with food tech or want to augment recipes or whatever, you can contact us and use the technology we have built over the last years. So when we started this company about 9 years ago, we started because we saw two big challenges. One is everything with climate change, and the other one is with health. The good news is that our diet can overcome these problems. The bad news is that diet is a habit, and it's very hard to change. But we believe that through technology, through better insights into flavor and data science, we can actually evolve to, in the first step, more customized recipes, but then in the long term, actually to personal food. And the algorithms we develop, it's really with the aim, if you want to reduce, for example, your meat consumption, or you want to use more seaweeds, it's very hard if you're not used to make these recipes. So our algorithms will support you in how can I leave out this piece of meat in my dish, and how can I change that dish to have something as delicious, but more sustainable. Yeah, so for the company. So then, digitization of food. So over the last 10 years, so when we presented here about 9 years ago, we had analyzed with a university in Belgium about 80 ingredients. So over the last 9 years, we succeeded to analyze a bit more than 1,900 ingredients, so that now we know all the aroma molecules which are important, how they react in different matrices, what are the aroma, what are the taste molecules. So that's all in a database, and we also apply machine learning on top of it to translate that knowledge into more like human language. I'm not sure if you're familiar with GCMS. That's one of the machines we use. There's a lot of variations of it, but actually you will extract the aroma with different methods, put that to a very long tube. That very long tube will actually segment the molecules. The tiny ones will go very fast, the big ones will go very slowly, but at the end, the same molecules leave at the same time. And then we have a mass spectrometer that will shoot that molecules into pieces, and the pieces are recognized by a pattern. And so we know what are the molecules into the products. So for example, this is a GCMS of Ají Amarillo, but it's very important to understand this is how a machine smells. This is not how a human being smells. Human being, we have different thresholds than a machine, for example. The matrix have a huge importance on the molecules. The interaction with the other molecules are also really important, so we do need to take that into account to see what combinations we can make. So if you then analyze the Ají Amarillo, you will have pineapple aromas. When you think about aroma, it's very important to know that there is not such something as one Ají Amarillo aroma. No, Ají Amarillo, it's a combination of molecules I find in other products. So I find the fruity molecule of Ají Amarillo also in pineapple. I find spicy molecules also in clove. I find green molecules also in cucumber. I find floral molecules in rose and in honey. I find roasted into steak roast. I find cheesy into beer. I find citrus into citrus, smoky into chorizo. And all this together, if you combine this all, you have Ají Amarillo. We did an experiment over the last few days where we took 6 aroma molecules, and when we combined them, it became strawberry. But none of them on its own, it's a strawberry. So then you get a more detailed profile of Ají Amarillo, and then it becomes interesting because then we can look, what if I dry the Ají Amarillo and it becomes an Ají Mirasol? how is the aroma changing? And you see that the fruitiness is almost completely gone, and you get much more caramelic and woody notes. Or we went to Colombia to analyze the coffees from all regions into Colombia. It's all Arabica, but it's really, the climate is changing the aroma profile completely. I have a cultural landscape on my left, I have a Sierra Nevada on my right, both Arabica coffee, but completely different. Here, if I combine the fruity and the green notes, I will actually have watermelon into my coffee, and this is a very roasted coffee. So it's all the same, and they use more or less the same molecules, but there's just a quantity that is different and makes the coffees totally different. As we are a Belgian company, we do a lot of work on chocolates and on beer, and we just put some of the beers from the database into an aroma space, and then we can see that the more commercial beers are like here, and the craft beers are actually much further away. So the whole movement with craft beer, they dare to go further from the known region, and that we can see into the analysis. So we have in our database the 1900 ingredients completely characterized. We can compare them, see how they're different, what is the preparation, how a preparation method is changing the profile, how ripeness is changing the profile. And on top of that database, we create a few algorithms. So here we have the database, and the algorithms on top can do more or less three different things. They can suggest pairings or recommendations. They can generate completely new recipes, so you can really customize a recipe, or they can replace a product. So if you start with the what pairs well with, so that's, if you know foodpairing.com, maybe if you have been on the website, that's what you see here. I have ají amarillo. What can I combine with the ají amarillo? Here we use only aroma. But of course, making a dish is much more than aroma. When we presented 9 years ago here, it was with this chef, Sanghun de Gembre of L'Air du Temps, and the food pairing dish we presented was this combination. The name is kiwitre. Anybody knows it's a combination of? Yeah, kiwi oyster. And the reason why we made that combination, of course, Heston was already busy long before us with food pairing. But one moment the chef came to me and he said, Bernard, when I smell a kiwi, I also smell the sea. Is that possible? So smelling, its aroma, so we started to analyze the aroma molecules of the kiwi. And indeed, we found an aldehyde. If you smell it, it's really marine, sea-like. And then we started to analyze also seafood, like mussels and oysters. And when we analyzed the oyster, we found molecules which were typical for tropical esters, typical for kiwi. So that was a starting point to actually make this combination. But through the whole experimentation, we found out that it's not just the GCMS profile you can look at. You really have to zoom in and see what are the key molecules, which molecules are really important for that product, what is their concentration, what happens if I add more of that. Like a smoked whiskey with smoked salmon, that's not what food pairing is, because that's too much of the same. So we're really looking at what are the optimal combinations of all those products. And for example, here you see a butternut mandarin combination, and then we visualize the possible combination or the connection between all the aromas. But for example, it's not because the vegetal is very important in butternut that this is the most important one to drive this combination, not at all. So if you go to the website, what you can do is you can create a new pairing. For example, if I go to Café de Nariño, it's one of the other coffees, it's very floral coffee, then you can see that, for example, in fruits, that raspberry is the best match. The bigger the green dot, the better the match is. But you get a whole list of possible combinations. This website is aimed at inspiring you. It's not that you have to take raspberry. No, you have a whole list of possibilities. It's what you like, it's what type of kitchen that you have, that you can then select out of this list. I make, for example, a lemon pie with raspberry to fit the Café de Nariño. If you make combinations, it's quite important that making a dish is not only about aroma, it's also about taste and about texture. So you have to make a whole cycle to make it really the dish work. So aromas for us is about complementary. We look at key odorants which are in common or create synergy by combining those. For taste and for texture, it's about a contrast. If you go to the blog of food pairing, you will find overviews like this. If you make a dish, you need at least one contrast. If you only have sweet, it will be a very boring dish. So you need at least bitter or alcohol or pungent or salt to contrast it. Same with texture. If you only have soft textures, it can be like comfort food. But if you want something exciting, you're looking for contrast in texture and go to something more crispy. So if you use food pairing to make combinations, you could start, for example, with the cauliflower and add vanilla and then a lobster. Well, this will be not balanced because all of them are sweet. So I need to contrast it, for example, with orange peel to add more freshness and with pistachio nut to add more texture. So when you use food pairing, always take that into account. It's not just picking the elements on the tool. No, taste should be balanced and texture should be balanced. We can also replace, so because we know the molecules, we can also replace a product by a combination of other products. For example, if you combine this recipe, you have basil without any basil. And why can you create basil without basil? Because basil has linalool, which is in coriander, has cineol, which is in cinnamon, has estragol, which is in tarragon. And if you combine it in the right quantity, you just obtain basil. And this is even more basil than if you would use real basil. Same for meat. We're doing quite a lot of research to reduce meat or replace meat. So can we replace, for example, a beef fond with non-meat products? Yes, we can. Just look at the profile, and if you combine coffee with ganjang and gochujang, you can actually create the same profile as with the beef, including the umami. So if you follow this pathway, and if you go to the blog, you can again find the recipe. If you follow this pathway, you will obtain a sauce tasting like beef. So then we're going to generate recipes. I just added this slide because you're all young people, you know the world is changing. Maybe you had this morning a customized coffee at Starbucks, or you customized your walking shoes, you have a customized news or music sender or video. So it's all about customization. So we wanted to create tools that allow people to customize the food. One of the applications we made was for a plant-based drink company. As I have not my computer, I cannot go online, but if you go to alpro.com, you can actually find a smoothie generator, not in the Spanish version, but for example, if you go to the UK or Belgium, you will find a smoothie generator, and the tool will start with, for example, you can take coconut milk, and it will suggest the combinations that you can make. You can just open your fridge, look what's in your fridge, and take the products out of it. It will take you through a whole process. You can add 3 ingredients, so 2 times fruit and vegetables, and 1 times like a herb or cocoa to make a finish, and it will generate on the spot a new recipe. There are no recipes in our database. We generate recipes on the spot. For the moment, we have about 40 to 100,000 recipes per month made on this website. And it's really an interesting tool for us and for the food company because we can follow what people select. And we can, on the spot, also adapt the ingredients that you can add to this tool. So it allows us to get much more better insight into the preference of the consumer. Yesterday, we demonstrated a B2B application. Puratos is a bread company, and they noticed that bakers are really not that creative, and they wanted to make bakers more creative. The creativity that the baker often have is to add nuts or raisins or chocolate, and there it stops. So we want to make a tool that makes bakers much more creative. The tool will take you to steps. For example, why should you use water to make bread? You can take whatever liquids. So, for example, yesterday we selected a cider as a liquid. So then in the second step is, what can I add to the bread? Okay, we added Iberico ham, hazelnut, apricot, and then we make a twist with lemon and coriander. So it allows really the baker to go creative, because there are a lot of interactions that can take place. Gluten can change, alcohol will interact with the bread, and the end goal is to have a bread always with the same texture. So this one is already active for a year, but the year before we worked quite closely with the bakers of Puratos. We tried a number of trials to see how ingredients react on the texture of the bread, and we fixed that into an algorithm. So now, if Puratos use this tool, if they have clients, the client can just make the bread, the recipe is there, and they just can bake it. So it's really helping those people to become much more creative. This is one not accessible online, but if you want to make an application and using the API, that's possible. That brings us to the last example. So API algorithm is something like intangible, and we wanted to make something more tangible. So we have one of the algorithms can actually solve whatever question you have with cocktails. Imagine you have a cocktail party and you want to make 1,000 cocktails. We can calculate how you do that in the best way, even if you don't use ice. So we can take that all into account. And that same algorithm is also connected to TaylorMade, which is a robot. We have about 16 bottles in the robot. So in the application, in the first step, you will take the spirit. In the second step, you take the taste. And in the third step, you select an aroma. So you can select Cointreau, then go for fruitiness, and then I like quite some alcohol, a bit of bitter, and a bit of sweet, and it will generate on the spot a new cocktail recipes. With the 15 bottles we have over there, we can create endless amount of cocktails. In the app I have here with me, we loaded the long drinks, so we can make with those 15 bottles about 4,000 balanced long drinks. Or you can be guided through classic cocktails and know what taste profile they have. So we have Lani, can you? No. Can you play the video? Just to give an idea about the cocktail robot. So this instant customization of cocktails. So you select on the tool, and then the robot. So the recipe is generated on the tool, send it to the robot, and the robot instant make that cocktail. I don't have the cocktail robot with me because it's quite a big machine, but I do have the application with me, and I do have a robot in a human form with me. Anybody wants to make a cocktail? Yeah. So you just choose sweetness. So we very much believe in customization. We have algorithms for ice. You can go very creative with ice, but if you have to calculate every time how to make it a good texture, it takes a lot of time. So all the algorithms are actually available and can instant generate the recipe and really help you out to be much more creative in the kitchen. So, yeah. So the first cocktail is a rum, lime, strawberry, and water. Just out of curiosity, how many people were already familiar with food pairing? Wow. Okay, super. So the next step, so now you select self, so this is customization, but the next step will of course be is that when you can follow the recipes you like, the drinks you like, that we can on the spot generate a cocktail or suggest you a few cocktails that you potentially could like. So the more we can follow you online, the better we can do the suggestions. Okay. Anybody has? Am I allowed to ask questions? Can the people in the audience ask questions? Because we still have a few minutes.
Any questions about food pairing while the cocktails are being made?
Anyway, I would like to invite you to. Anyway, food will change dramatically in the coming years, and with the digitization of food, a lot will change. So, I think Europe needs much more food tech companies. So,
Hi.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. We were just talking about that there are a lot of factors involved in perception, like memory, nostalgia, education, whatever. So, how do you get to define what are the patterns of a successful cocktail or a successful combination? You know, like based in which taste, or I don't know if you understand my question.
Yeah. Well, if you do recommendations, there are several methods, but the way we do it, it is content-based. So we really try to understand what is your preference, what is the taste and aroma preference. We know there are a lot of other things going on that determines your taste, but you try to extract what is the optimal taste balance, what are the types of aromas you like and what combinations do you like them. Will that give the full answer? Of course not, but it will give a part of the answer.
But that's based like on a group of people, or that you make taste with? Then,
No, we don't
or-
do user-based. So we look at the recipes you eat, and we try to find patterns in the taste and aroma and the texture in that food. So we really look at the content, not at how you're similar to somebody else. That's not how we look at recommendations.
So you would say that these solutions are like Western culture oriented? I mean, like based on the Western food culture?
You probably refer to a paper, but yeah, we don't agree with that one. For example, we have a company in Japan, and they use a lot of this technology, and it works really well. It's true that in Asian countries, textures are much more important, but it can also be applied there.
Is there a way to crowdsource the information that you use to participate as chefs in the process of gathering information? Because it can snowball, and you now have like 1,800 of aromas, you know, but if thousands of people around the world used some kind of, I don't know, kit or app to add information to a system, and then you process it, then it can be millions in a year.
We're working on that. Because it took us a long time to obtain only 1,900 ingredients, and we have a very, very long way to go. So we know we have to speed up the analysis.
I love it, but I think that it should be more bitter. As I know that he is not a machine, but it's just my opinion. If you want to hear it.
No, but when you try the first time, the chance that it's directly correct, it's low, because the machine has to learn to know you. And if you drink a few times, then we can optimize the taste profile, and from there we can create an endless amount of cocktails you will like.
I would like to know, when you make the cocktails, you combine the lime, rum, strawberry, and water, and you taste it. And then will the taste different when you shake, stir, and when you serve at the room temperature, or you add shaved ice and a cold frozen ice.
Yeah, it will change, but the algorithm now active is calculated for broken ice to be stirred. If it will be shaken, then we need to adapt it, because then you will add much more water to it. So, but that we can take all into to account. But if you have an application or an idea for an application, feel free to contact us, and we will give you for free access to all the information. Okay, thank you.